business somewhere. Right now. I love you to come tomorrow. Yeah. I love you as long as the Arab are this agreement. This agreement. This is forever.
Are we on? Okay.
I think it's
All right. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Inshallah, we're going to begin the our town hall community meeting. I'm going to start with the imam, if he can lead us in a quick dua or prayer.
Assalamu
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ كنتم أعداء فألف بين قلوبكم فأصبحتم بنعمته إخوانا وكنتم على شفا حفرة من النار فأنقذكم منها كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته لعلكم تهتدون ولتكن منكم أمة يدعون إلى الخير ويأمرون بالمعروف وينهون عن المنكر وأولئك هم المفلحون.
جزاك الله خير. Okay, I guess just to kind of set some, what we're gonna try to do here, inshallah, tonight. The idea is we're gonna try to go through a little bit of history of the masjid, activities that the masjid's been doing, some of the things that are going on that we're trying to do. And then afterwards, when we finish, we're gonna go ahead and open to questions and answers, so everybody has an opportunity to ask any questions that you might have. We also are trying to solicit a couple of things. Number one, people that are interested in helping, volunteering for any programs, etc. And also any suggestions you might have, ideas. Sometimes the best ideas come from, people that are not necessarily involved in a day-to-day operation. So if you think of an idea, have some suggestions, we'd like to hear them. Again, depending on how the meeting goes, if you can't do it during the meeting, it's perhaps an email or just a note and drop it in the box and just to say, this is some thoughts I have. So that's kind of the general idea. So again, I want to welcome everybody for coming, and I just want to introduce some of the board members. Right now, there's not everybody's here, but it looks like the majority is here. My name is Sam Shalabi. I'm currently the president of the board, and I've been in the community here for about over 32 years, so it's been a little long. And then we have Brother Ali Loury, which is right there. You can raise your hand so people know who you are, and he's been around for a while too. Then we have Brother Bashir Qasimi, and he's actually our secretary. And Brother Ali, he's handling with Brother Waqas, he handles the food bank and the maintenance of the masjid. We have Brother Shahid Ali, who's also been in the community for quite some time, helps with a little bit of everything. Brother Sakan Akar, who is in charge of the school and the educational programs that we have. We are missing, who have not showed up or not able to come, is Brother Waqas Hamioni. He's been helping also with food bank, and he also helps with some of the grants that we've been trying to get for the community. And we have Brother Amir is here. He was just praying. Amir, he's kind of helps all around with a little bit of everything. He's again, most of you guys know him. And then the last person, two more people missing is Brother Muhammad Asif, who is been helping with some of the fundraising, and Brother Iyad Qudsi, who is in charge of the finance. He handles the treasurer and his finance ability. So those are all the board members. We currently have 9 board members. Again, I'd like everybody to know who they are. Most people know them. But also keep in mind and remember that the board members are volunteers. Everybody here is spending the time for the sake of Allah. They try to put the effort they can. So any help that you can give them or give us and be able to help the masjid is for the sake of Allah and sake of the benefit of the masjid. So that being said, I was going to give a brief history about our masjid, the people that might not know how this started and evolved. So I'll give just a kind of brief idea of that. The Islamic Center of Fredericksburg, we started back in the late 80s, and we started off with pretty much about 4 people. And then, alhamdulillah, over the years, we kind of bounced from, praying in a church Sunday school to houses, people's houses, to different places until, alhamdulillah, we came to this masjid in about 2000. Year 2000. We built this masjid, and the idea was to have our own location that we can start building the community instead of jumping around. We went from literally Jama'ah, 4 or 5 people. Today, most you can see we have 2 Jama'ahs and sometimes 3. A prayer used to be about 12 people, and today, I think the last pre-COVID, we had almost 2,500 people. So definitely the community has grown and things have evolved. With regard to the space, when we built the space back in 2000, we thought this was going to be, last forever, because again, it was really big for the size of our community. As you can see today, trying to do a school, it gets very difficult and very limited. Trying to have prayers gets a little bit difficult, and just having activities, because all we have is one major main hall of masala. We don't have activity areas, we don't have places for the women, children, etc. So that kind of put a new target for us, is to try to see if we can do an expansion. So what we did, alhamdulillah, with the help of everybody and donations, we were able to purchase the property next door to us, which is again has the house, and that's the property that a lot of soccer games and things happen in the back of it. The concept there is, at some point in time, we'll be able to expand the parking lot. Today, we have 42 parking spaces. Everybody that comes here knows that parking is pretty tough. And if it wasn't for the road the gravel road that we park on, we would be in deep trouble. That is slated to be a public road, or even a private road, but it's going to be a road. And when that happens, obviously, we will not be able to park. So that's, we're fortunate enough it hasn't happened yet. We've been able to park on it, but at some point when that happens, we're gonna have to move. So we're hoping this addition of the land next to us will allow us to build more parking. Again, I think the last layout we did, which is about 85 parking spaces additional, and also allow us room to build and expand the building. We also are looking at trying to purchase property behind us. If we are able to do that, inshallah, that would definitely give us some more land that we can, last for a long time for future expansions and also parking. The expansion, and I'll talk about that a little bit, if you can put that. Basically what we did, we had looked at one point to move away from the masjid here and try to find bigger property. People that were around knew that we had some serious trouble with the county and neighbors, and we weren't able to do that. So we came back and decided that we want to stay in this area here. So what we're looking at, this building today is about 3,000 square feet. And what we're looking to do is to put an addition on the basically right side of the building next to where the house is. It will be a 4,000 square footprint, of which there will be 3 floors. It will be a first floor, second floor, and a basement. This is kind of a rendering, architectural rendering that we did to kind of give us some ideas of what it might look like. You can see the existing building on the left side, which is 1 story, the one we're in today, and the other building, you have 2 floors above, and then we'll have a basement underneath that. We try to give it a little bit different look. We don't know if this is going to end up being the final architectural, but at least this is what we were hoping for, to give it an Islamic look, give it something to identify, us as Muslims, to identify the masjid, and the same thing, be attractive.
The look on the top and the look on the bottom, that's the same building, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's the same. The top one is just the other view, looking from the side over there. If we go to the next, this kind of gives you just a general idea, and I'll kind of point out a couple of things to make it easier. This again is the current masjid, and this is the addition. The concept is that the first floor, I don't know if we can do something to. Huh? Yeah, it's good. Now I was talking about that. I don't know if they'll be able to tell people online, but again, we'll try to post the pictures. Yeah, we'll try to post the images later on, but at least, just to follow through. So the idea is the first floor of the new, masjid, or new expansion will be for men, prayer area, which would be a large prayer area, and then it'll have the men's restrooms, bathrooms. You'll have office, you'll have places for shoes, and basically entryway, and also have an entryway for women. There'll be an elevator, and there'll be stairs that go up to the second floor, and which will be the women area. The existing building here, this will be an overflow for prayer in case we need it, and also the idea is that can be used future into a full school. Our goal at one point is to have a school from kindergarten to 12th grade Islamic school. So that will be a starting point that we want to be able to divide it in classes to be able to offer that. If you go to the next step. So this will be the basement. Actually, it's the second floor. The women's, again, this is the roof because it's above this building. This is the roof. It'll be a big open area, which will be a women's prayer area and kind of a multi-purpose area.
So the
second floor. And the idea is that we have the vinyl floor or some kind of a hardwood floor of vinyl tile, and then you'll have carpet that we can roll in when we need it, don't need it. So when the women are in prayer, we roll it out and people pray. When we're not using it, like for Ramadan, things like that prior, we actually use it for food, meals. There'll be a full kitchen upstairs that we can serve, food and stuff. That way we try to keep it separated from the main prayer area. Again, there'll be a women's and men's the bathrooms. There'll be shoe area. There'll be a nursing room to allow women, again, for little kids that we can put them. There'll be storage for tables, an idea that we can actually set up tables if there's a function. We can have some tables and chairs and actually, use it for dinners, etc. So that's kind of the general concept of the floor. There'll be 2 staircases, there's 2 stairwells that would allow people to go up and down, and there'll be an elevator for people that need to use the elevator. Go to the next one, okay? And that, actually, we skipped one.
I don't think.
Yeah, there was one, anyway, maybe if I have, there was one that was a basement, one more. Yeah, okay, that doesn't matter, anyway. There was one basically then we have the basement, which will be the same footprint of the basement. And the basement, initially, we probably won't be using it for much, but the idea is that could be used as activity or functions for children. We could put perhaps a ping pong table, a pool table for some of the teenagers if we want to bring them for sleepover, some different activities that could be
Can you
used.
use it as a reception to like someone wanna make like?
Well, that's the idea. We're doing that upstairs. That's what we're going to do. But it could be used for anything. So this is again how I talked earlier about the parking and about the building. This gives you an idea. Today, our property is here. This is the parking spaces we have. This is our existing building. Now, this is the expansion of the building. Again, we're keeping it in line, the same thing where the qibla is going to line up with the qibla, so everything prays in line. And then we're adding more parking all the way around. So this will ultimately be our new configuration once everything is built. The property behind it I was talking about is property back here. And again, if we were able to purchase that, then that would allow us to expand the parking and perhaps maybe in the future another building if we need to. Or it could be outdoor activities, could be a volleyball or anything for temporary. So that's kind of the general idea for the building.
So we demolish that house?
That the house will eventually be demolished because the house actually sits right here. Obviously, we're not going to do that until we get ready to do it. This project, just for people that might have questions, it is a big project. It is something that would last for hopefully many years that we need to do. It's probably closer to about $2 million project to do everything. So we want to basically be, smart, try to do things. Again, this shows the building and the parking lot, and this shows the areas next to it.
Is that how many additional parking?
We're trying to put 85 spaces, yeah. So right now, basically, we're triple what we have, so. If you put just the general image of our game.
You have about 41 right now.
Yeah.
With the expansion
Yeah,
of that property alone, we will go to.
Yeah, it would be 100, almost 125 spaces. So we added about 85 more to it. Okay, so that kind of, so pertaining to the plans, like I said, so just to give everybody status, the plans already, as you can see, we started working on, ideas, elevations, footprints. The plans are currently, site plan is currently at the county. We've been to the county a couple different times for a review process. COVID, obviously, hit. We were planning on having the plans approved last year. With COVID, things got slowed down, got closed, et cetera. So obviously, we're still in that process. We're hoping to have the plans approved sometime right before the end of the year, this fall. And that way, we'll be in the position that if we wanted to start expanding the parking lot or, building the building, we can do that. Obviously, we're not going to do that until we make sure we have at least a certain amount of funds that put us into place. We don't want to start and then just stop and leave it. And the same thing is we don't want to tear the house down. We're going to try to use the house, as long as we can in the property until such time that we're ready to go ahead and demolish and go ahead and start that.
People look at me when I think
Huh?
people look at me when you went to find me, right?
We're not inside.
Do you have any classroom there, like a classroom gym on that building?
Well, what's going to happen is we're going to make this into classrooms. So basically, there'd be no school into the new building. This will be broken up into classrooms, and that way you have the whole school here. Yeah. Yeah, so we're going to break it up into classrooms. Yeah. So that's the idea, is this will basically be used for classrooms. Yeah, so that way we, instead of right now, having people on top of each other, actually be classrooms with doors.
There is 7 classrooms.
Correct.
7 rooms.
Yeah, 7 rooms.
7 classrooms.
Yeah.
Because I am in the kitchen, so I get it.
Yeah. Okay, all right, so let's keep it, so again, like I said, so the plans are at the county. We're fund-wise, we're still, a long way away. We need, a lot of money to be able to get to the point.
How much money we have right now?
Right now, we probably have, close to about 700. So, which is how that, it's a good amount, but, we need to have at least 50%.
Majority of that came from the land.
Yeah, the majority of that money, basically most of it came from when we did the property there, we sold it, made the subdivision, sold it, made the money, which is how that worked out.
And that's
Yeah.
all for the new budget, all that is only for the new budget?
Correct. Because what we did is we sold the land that we had there, we had the issues with, and we're able to, get the money for that. So again, hopefully, as we start working on more, donations and fundraising, then once we get to 50% or a little bit more, then we can probably start looking at starting.
What is 10%? How much is?
It's probably gonna be a $2 million project, so we need to buy another about 300, 350 just to be able to start. So again, anybody wants to write a check, we're glad to accept it. If anybody knows people to be able to donate, that's always the case.
But also, but we put some prints on the walls.
Correct.
You never know, sometime, maybe traveler go.
And
I pay the money put by my wife's name.
Sure, no, I'm going to print these in larger print. I tried to do it actually today, but unfortunately the printer didn't work, so I'm gonna print them in large and I'll bring them, we'll put them in the one. And also we'll post them on, maybe we can even cycle them through.
Like,
Yes, Yes.
somebody say, I pay, put my wife's name on here.
Yeah, okay, I understand, I was involved helping them there, so, okay.
Good question. So we have 185, how much is it? 20?
We have the 125.
So has there been any thought about giving about like, with the kids, like basketball court or soccer courts?
Yeah, we'll be able to work on those things, yeah. So again, fundraising continues. One thing, again, I want to make sure everybody understands is that, this masjid operates solely on basically donations. So everybody, thank you for all the people that come to the masjid, don't come to the masjid, that people that donate. That's the only way we survive. That's the only way we pay for our electric bills, the only way we pay for our carpet, for cleaning, for anything. We are not sponsored, we're not paid by anybody. It's just all donations. So,
Inshallah, brother Shahad match everything.
okay, good. So the idea is, like I said, is that, everybody keep that in mind, is that when you donate, it's truly for the sake of Allah, and it truly helps the message, not for just you, but for generations to come. Some of the people that have been here for a while, they know and see it. So jazakumullah khair for that. So that's kind of pertaining to the new building. Again, we'll be ready to start the site probably before the end of the year. It's just, again, it's all going to depend on money and time, then we'll kind of go from there.
But again, Brother Sam, I need to explain to the brothers over here, if we, buy the land behind us, if that work out, of course, we're not gonna have enough money at all to just,
No, and that's why, like I said, we want to, yeah. And again, we'll talk more about the questions, but yeah, the idea is that, as I mentioned, we do have a certain amount of money, which again, sounds like a lot of money, but it's really not. One of the things we talked about, if we do, just like Brother Ali said, if we do get an opportunity to purchase the land behind us, obviously you can imagine, that would eat up most of that money. So it's kind of the trade-off. Do we start construction? Do we purchase the land? So we'll have to kind of look at that. But inshallah, it's just something that over time we'll get there.
We have a questions and answer session right at the end, so
Yeah.
another one to get through.
Yeah, that's okay. I mean, quick, small one, that's okay, but like I said, I will go through and then we'll answer the rest at the end. All right, so that being said, I think I covered most everything on the building and expansion. Hopefully that answered most of the questions you might have, but if there are any more at the end, we can ask and talk about. So the next thing I want to kind of talk about a little bit is our school programs. And I'll give you some highlights, and then if there's any detailed questions, Brother Sarkan, who's in charge of that, can obviously be able to answer. But currently we have a few classes that are going on. We do have Quranic classes. There's two of them. We have one that's from 4 to 6 and one that goes from 6 to 8. And those basically are open for all different ages. And they try to teach kids as much as possible in terms of Quran and the different levels. So those are available. We've been trying to do that. We are working on, again, like I mentioned, trying to do more of a Islamic school. That's going to take a lot longer and more work. But again, there's effort being looked into, and inshallah, we'll be able to get to that. In terms of Sunday school, right now it's summertime, so there is no Sunday school, but the Sunday school will start by mid-August. That's been going on for years, and basically the idea is every Sunday we bring all the children, different age groups, different levels, and they will start, probably mid-August, and they go until sometime May. It will be every Sunday. It depends on the timing, usually 10 to 2, or again, that might change slightly depending on things. And the idea is to teach the children basic, Arabic, basic Quran, some seerah and different things about, our religion. So hopefully that will continue and expand. At one point last year, I think before COVID, we were up to probably close to almost 100 kids or something. Yeah, so the numbers are growing, and again, as the community grows, and that also explains why we need more room, because imagine trying to put classes for 100 kids, it's just impossible. So that's something that we do. During the summer, they've been doing some great activities in terms of, again, it's just summer activities during the weekends after prayer, trying to do some soccer games and football games and different activities. Again, the idea is just trying to bring the community together and trying to see if people have ideas of how to expand and continue to grow. They go until another prayer, and then also they do bonfire and food and different things. So hopefully that will continue, and anybody that has ideas how to expand those activities or to make them better and more fun, obviously talk to Brother Sarkan. He's always open for either.
The school we start like Saturday, Sunday, and it's 2 days a week.
Yeah.
1 day is not
Well, and we will get to that when we get closer. I mean, that's the thing is, especially with the time, but also we have to have the teachers' availability. There's a lot of things to be worked out there.
Why I ask questions, because as we get old, mostly people retired, so we find that question.
Yeah.
So I ask same time.
Yeah, and I understand, and the idea is, we want to get to the point that we have a 5-day school. I mean, but the idea until we get to that point, it's just a matter of teachers. Our teachers, again, are limited in number. They have families and stuff, so it's hard to say come Saturday and Sunday. So as we get more teachers, more volunteers, hopefully, inshallah, we can expand that. But the idea is having, we want to add programs. I mean, every time someone moves, I know some of the brothers that came, they're trying to help, expand some things. Again, like I said, this is all volunteer. So it's only going to get better by people's involvement. The more we get involved, the more ideas we do, the more help, the more the communities get stronger and things will get better. So any suggestions there, I'm sure it'll be great and accepted. I think that kind of covers it. Did I miss anything? Besides that, obviously the Imam is doing, he says every week about some of the things that he's been doing. The Imam does, his small classes and Fajr prayer and after Isha prayer. He's been available to do all kinds of things. I know he mentions that during the Jumu'ah, and he tries to remind everybody. So, and he does not mind doing even more classes and more activities. It's just, again, you have to have an audience. If you can have all the programs in the world, but without anybody listening, doesn't mean anything. So we have to have people involved to come and listen, and be active. That's important. So hopefully, again, we'll try to come up with new programs, and then we'll lead some of those, and we can get more involved. Okay, all right, so there's also, a reminder, there's existing Quranic Arabic class, so if anybody's interested, obviously, please sign up for it. And again, a lot of things seem to be very geared towards children, but we're also willing to do it for older adults. If adults want to learn Arabic and also Quran, the Imam is available to help with those things. So it's not just children, there's also opportunities for other things. Speaking of education, I guess there was a video, so we'll run a video for a couple of minutes just to show you some of the things that have been happening, so you can see what's going on.
It's actually one for the weekend.
Yeah, it's a weekend, but just again, it's part of that, doing things and bringing people together. So.
We just lost. What is it? Who's supposed to know?
Okay, now we're going to move on to other. So, anybody have questions on the education part for this?
Still, we have problem going for grass. Last week, we get the person with 3 people pay for grass cutting. The grass for more than 1 fee.
Okay.
We have to give somebody company to come.
Okay, all right.
We have a company come.
We do that.
It's more than 1 feet grass. We 3% pay it. Somebody
Okay.
cut the grass.
There is a company come every 2 weeks. If you guys want to work offer,
Last Thursday become June.
Okay.
The grass go by inch every day.
Yes, all right.
So because we have kids coming.
Who's talking?
We pay 140.
Okay, all right. Let's do this, Brother Zayed. Yeah, we can just change it to 1 week. I agree. In the summer, we'll make it 1 week.
Only 3 months, otherwise.
Inshallah, I think that's something we can do. Okay. So we'll make sure that we can take care of that. Okay. All right. So everybody can watch the video for a couple minutes and.
MashaAllah, brother said, we have these brothers, they want to work volunteer participation in program.
أسرار الغيوب جمالا وألون الدنيا بشكل بسمة وأكون للخير أسمو وقد جاء السماء جلالا فنزيد أسرار الغيوب جمالا وألون الدنيا بأجمل بسمة وأكون للخير العظيم مثالا وأمرنا جل جلاله للوطن الحبيب شيئا قلنا إليه ونستفيد جلالا السماء جلالا فنزيد أسرار الغيوب جمالا ونلون الدنيا
Jazakallah khair.
So that was the second week we did this.
Okay.
So much now I'm gonna triple that.
Okay, so I'm doing another one.
We have a lot more now.
Yeah, that's great, Jazakallah khair. So obviously, we're trying to build different programs, and that's great, so hopefully everybody can get involved and assist with that. Next thing I want to talk about a little bit is financials, and I know some people had discussed, asked questions about how much money we have. So I'll give you some basic numbers. Again, the measure operates on donations only, so that's always a concern as board members we have, is that we have to be able to pay our bills, pay our expenses, look for, improvements, projects, et cetera. So a lot of times people might think, oh, we only have this much money, it's a lot of money. It's not, because that can disappear very quickly. And also, from a board's perspective, our biggest concern, the biggest thing always is that we have to make sure this message is here way beyond all of us. We want the kids and their kids to continue to be at this message. So the only way to do that is that we really have to have a good, strong financial base to be able to do that. So again, I know a lot of times we bug people about, hey, we need donations, but that's the only reason. It's not for anything to put it, in our pockets. It's just to be able to put back into the things that need to be done.
Monthly expense about $10,000.
Correct. So our monthly expenses run about $10,000, a little bit more than $10,000 a month. And again, that covers, insurance, it covers our, like electricity, it covers, water bills, it covers taxes, everything, it covers teachers and that. So there's a lot of expenses there that need to be always taken care of. So, bringing in money, and you can imagine, that's still a lot of money. Alhamdulillah, we do get a lot of donations and people do donate generously. But, during COVID, it was pretty rough. I mean, we were having a serious problem, paying any of our bills. Alhamdulillah, things are starting to get better. During Ramadan, of course, is always that's how we usually collect enough money for Ramadan. That keeps us going for the rest of the year. Last Ramadan, there was no Ramadan, so we had nothing. I'm sorry. This year is almost no, but the one before was almost no Ramadan. So so imagine you wiped out your supply or your money for the whole year. So that was definitely a tough thing. So it's important, that we keep that always in mind, is that, our expenses and.
Just a quick question, have you thought about using like a different, so have you thought about using like another energy, alternative, like solar or something?
For
Energy or.
sure. I mean, and that's something that as we do the new building, it's just when it gets to, remember that there's an capital investment has to be put in there. So that's one thing, if you don't have the money to spend for the $20,000-$30,000 to get it set up, it could be a little harder. But as we do the new building, inshallah, the idea is trying to do stuff a little bit more.
Also, the energy is just a fraction of.
Correct, and that's a fraction of expenses, yeah. But also we are looking at things like, for example, changing the parking lot lights into LED lights, and we are looking at doing a lot of things like that, inshallah. It just takes a little bit of time. So, just again, in terms of income, last year was kind of a little bit rough. This year, we're doing alhamdulillah better. Just in general numbers, we've collected close to $100,000, Ramadan being a big factor of that. And, we've spent to date probably close to about, $70,000. So we have a little bit of cushion. But again, it's Ramadan's part of that, which gives us, to cover the rest of the months. So that's basically the way we did apply for some grants, and we did apply for some PPP money. If anybody has a business is familiar with that, during the COVID, the government did put out some emergency disaster relief money. We applied for that. We actually did get some money, basically, as a relief. There was a portion that you could have gotten as loans. We did not get that because, again, even though we were approved, we did not get that because we didn't feel that masjid we should be getting loans and pay interest. But the money that was just free to help, the community or help the masjid, we did take that. So that helped during some of our issues. We also applied for grants. There are some grants out there. This is really more for Homeland Security, have grants out there because of all the things happening with masajid and with synagogues and just different things. They put out these grants that you can apply for safety and security. So we applied, Brother Waqas did a good job helping put that together. And we actually won a grant. The security person you see out there that tries to help with traffic incident, he's actually being paid for by the grant. It's not paid for by the day of the masjid. The same thing, you'll see that we're going to be changing, putting some more cameras, we're going to be changing some lights, even changing some of the doors. And those are all paid for by the grant. So we didn't have to pay anything out of the masjid. It's going to be paid for all by grants. So we are working at all avenues to try to find ways to fulfill and cover, some of our funds and stuff. But again, it's kind of limited to the best we can. So that's kind of, pertaining to our finances. As I mentioned earlier, we do need more money to start the project for the expansion, but alhamdulillah, at least we have a good starting point. Yes.
My question is, so as we do all these fundings and trying to get money, so do we have a tax refundable way of doing it to encourage people? Yes, to encourage people.
Yes, we do. Everybody, we are a 501c, basically that we are a non-profit organization. So any penny you pay, you can not only get the gazette from Allah and the reward, but you actually get from Al-Qasam. He gives you back taxes. So, and anybody that pays donations, like typically if you write a chapter, you give something, now we know who you are, we actually give you a receipt. So we can mail you a receipt, give you a receipt if you donate anything. We can email it to you. So yeah, and definitely you should take advantage of that. Why not? If it can save you on your taxes, please do.
And also, we also have this, you can sign up for a credit card, withdraw automatically, so it automatically get the receipt.
Receipts, so for monthly, donations and that way, but yes, you can, all you have to do is put it as your donations and then you get, that's from your taxes.
Because I realized that the fundraising we did during the Ramadan, I don't think some of the people who they got a receipt for the amount they gave, so that's what I.
No, yeah, usually, like I said, if we have your name and having a list, we will send you a receipt. If you just put money in the box, obviously, we can't track that.
Also.
Okay.
Kind of question, if you also buy stuff for the budget, we have accounts from Home Depot and Best Buy,
Yeah.
tax exempt.
Sure.
You also save money by not having to pay tax when you buy things for the budget.
Correct. So if there's anything for the measure, we can do that. All right, brother, Bashir.
Just a small point, when we say that we receive 10,000, for example, this month, people need to realize some of that money people have given specifically for extension of the building, so that cannot be used in the expense.
Sure.
And then when you see that we have 3,000 extra, actually, we are not telling you to separate the money which the people give specifically for building extension, we may not have 3,000.
No, that is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you, because no, thank you for clarifying that. So yeah, that is correct. When people donate money, when someone puts it in zakat or puts a zakat, we can't, just pay electric bill with it. We have to keep it for zakat. When someone says, general masjid operations, then we use it for everything. When someone says, I want it to be a specific sadaqah or just for the masjid, so that's hard sometimes because, when people specify, we have to kind of follow that. And we separate all the money, even though it looks like you're just putting money in one thing, but no, we do separate accounts. We have the school even has its own account. When someone pays for the school, that money does not go to pay for the parking lot. It pays for the school, pays for the teachers, it pays for things. So we try to separate the money in all those different categories to be able to do that.
Or the kids that cannot pay.
Correct. And then people, again, because part of our, if children or people, families are unable to pay, that covers some of those costs, because again, we want everybody to be able to come and do it.
Yes, but I think any money outside of the zakah, we can use it for the building.
Sadaqah, we will do.
Anything, sadaqah, we can use it to build the new addition, but we don't want to confuse the community, okay, you have to just say it like in Pacific way, like you need your money for sadaqah, you need money for this or this and that. Other than zakah, we can use it for anything else.
We're not saying that, we're saying that when someone says, I want it for the new masjid, is different than someone saying, I'm paying sadaqah. People put in sadaqah, or people say, here's a donation, we use it for whatever activities we need.
Yeah, but we can use it for the building the masjid too.
I understand.
We have no problem.
I understand, but I'm saying it just depends on how people, if they list it certain ways.
Some people put it in the envelope, so they want it to go for that specific purpose. We have separate accounts for that.
Yeah.
We have separate accounts for that, so that we can show people that if you donate it for the building fund, it goes into the building fund. If you donate it for the school, then it goes in the school account.
So a lot of times, like you see it even during Ramadan, we have, like, for example, there's envelopes that say new building, envelopes that say just general zakah, operations, and even during Ramadan, you have zakat fitr, so we try to use things for the categories, but the idea is, we just want everybody to donate as much as possible, and then we'll try to hopefully use it as much as we can. Some of the other activities that we do is there's a food bank operation that people that do not know or do know, we do a food bank, and the food bank that is a worldwide now. Basically, they have food banks all over the world, and the idea behind it is people donate to the food bank food, and the food bank provides food to people that might be in need or just less fortunate. So a few years ago, the food bank, what they decided to do is, instead of having one spot, everybody has to travel to go to the food bank, they decided to do food pantries. So they basically, in churches, in masajid, in different places, and say, okay, you can set up a food bank. They give us a certification. You can set up a food bank at your location. And now we, as an organization, go get food and supplies from the food bank. We bring it here, and then people from our community, or even outside our community, that want their need of food or supplies, then we can give them. And alhamdulillah, we've had the food bank going on for many, many years now. And, we've had our moments up and down, but alhamdulillah, I think Brother Ali and Brother Waqas and some other people have been helping to try to keep that going. So if you know anybody that's in need of, food bank or food, please contact us. We can help. If you have stuff you want to donate, that's fine. So that's something that's going on again, to allow people to get, what they need.
Brother Sami, if we buy land on the backside, then no money to build other masjid, right?
No.
Correct.
And is able to extend this masjid on the backside?
It's the construction is going to be, I'll be honest with you, with construction these days, if we were ready to build today, we will probably not build today. We will probably wait, because construction costs, with everybody that's familiar with construction, is up really anywhere from 30 to 50%. So we'd be spending a lot more money on something that we really don't need to. That $2 million I'm talking about is probably $3 million now. So there's no, we'd like to build quickly, but we want to also wait until
everything is costly.
Everything is too expensive. If you bought any wood or lumber lately, you'll know 2x4 used to be $2, now it's $9 and $10. It's crazy. So that's the idea, is that we're going to take our time, do the things that need to be done.
I find also money on this one.
Mashallah, there you go, see? See, I can look at comments. So, all right, so that covers the food bank, and that's kind of, I talked about the grants, so I think we've kind of covered up this. We have something. This is from the back? Okay, so we have a suggestion. I guess, let me just wrap it, and I will talk about this. So I think I kind of covered everything that I wanted to cover at the moment, not to mention, I don't know if I missed anything, if any of the board members think that something else we should have talked about. I think I covered most of everything. So we're gonna open the floor for questions and suggestions. I do have a fundraiser suggestion, which basically is to create a social media campaign, Facebook, Instagram to raise money, get donations beyond ICF. Absolutely, and the problem we've always had is someone to take charge of that, and someone to help. So if it's something that perhaps, the sister can help or whatever, maybe that's something that would be great. We'd love to have any help we can get, because I agree, if we rely only or solely on people in dementia, it gets hard. Sometimes we have to reach out further, even GoFundMe and things like that. People do raise a lot of money. We just have to be able to do it. So, Jazakallah khair.
We have Amazon accounts that if you buy your stuff from Amazon through the.
Yeah, with Amazon, I think Amazon, they have Amazon Smile or Prime. Yeah, basically, if you go in, when you buy through that, they donate money to the Islamic Center for Excellence. So there's a lot of ways that you can do that, and we're trying to do more of it. But yeah, Jazakallah, we can maybe contact and discuss that later.
Every Friday you announce about Amazon, that's where people know.
Yeah, we do need to probably put it on our website a little bit more. So I guess at this point, we'll open questions. Anybody that has a question,
So with financials, like we see that most nonprofits, they are pretty transparent with their financials.
Right.
So right, so why not have monthly, end of month, financial statements put out? Say this was the income, this was the expenses, this went to this, this went to this. It'll only increase transparency between the board and the community. And
You have that.
yeah, if anybody wants to see the finances, the only thing is in the past, we used to actually put it on the door. Unfortunately, what happened is that some people see that and then start thinking, oh, the president has too much money, and then you suddenly get flooded by people that are trying to, some rightfully so and some not rightfully so. So we kind of thought, maybe we just need it. But if anybody wants to see anything, anybody has questions, feel free, absolutely, you come by and look at it. There's nothing that's, that's hidden from us.
Yeah, mashallah, we have a full board, and if anybody wants to reach out, anybody on the board, they will get them that information. We're completely transparent, and we want to stay that way. But we have our reasons why we didn't post it.
So again, but that is something maybe we can come up with a little smaller summary, but that was kind of, sometimes you learn things and you try to. All right.
I've seen people doing it on a monthly basis, just like utilities expense, general.
And we can do that. It's just like I said,
School expenses, utilities.
Sure, and we keep track of, we use
Not the
QuickBooks.
capital you guys have or anything, just like.
No, and we have QuickBooks, so we can do that. We can post certain things, to make everybody understand.
About financial, if you please go to the slide that shows the blueprint with the parking lots.
Like this one?
Yeah, but it's like, blueprint.
Parking lot.
It's kind of similar to this.
I wish, if we have commercial zoning in the front, I wish we take part of that parking and make some buildings with just strip more right there. It would be excellent. It hides the masjid from any, God forbid, future, income.
Yeah,
Of course, it provides
County
income. If the county allows.
The problem is, by the time you put that building, you'll have no room to do another building. So that's the thing. It's just,
Even like a small, 3 stories.
the setbacks, the parking lot, the stormwater man, there's a lot of rules, and I can explain a lot through
Income, you can buy the land.
You can put it within the building of the masjid. That
Yeah.
might be an option. The front of the building has storefronts.
But that's too far from the street. This is.
Oh, no, I mean, if people
Well,
we got
again-
vendors right now.
That's a lot more discussion. We could probably look at that, but that's a lot more
If you're
complicated.
building anyway, just think about it.
Yeah. All right, Jazakallah khair. We will make a note. Let me write down, Ronnie will, I'll some shopping. Okay. Any other?
I don't,
No,
I'm
no,
not saying for Walmart to.
No, no.
Just
No, I understand.
like a
I understand.
strip. Just like the one across the street, there's a strip, yeah.
Yeah,
And you can absolutely determine
right now
what
we
business
have-
you want in there.
Right now, we have a couple of vendors.
You can visit the Muslims, then they can
Okay.
start business there, and they're really good Muslims.
all right.
Right now, we have a couple of vendors, like a food vendor, we have clothes vendors. So that, as we get nearer to the actual building, we could incorporate maybe some storefronts where we could rent out those spaces. And that might be an option, but we're not right there yet.
Okay. Good.
One of the problem, brother, if we go by your approach, we have to consider, if you're gonna make a strip mall, you have to provide access, you have to provide setback, then you have to provide parking for those. So then we won't have any parking spot. One of the big problems everywhere in the US, masjid and community has fight about parking. Always, 99% of the dispute come because of parking. Because our people are not careful, they will park wherever at the
Yeah,
end.
it's a suggestion, that's good.
And honestly, just like football stadiums in any college. They build $10 million football stadium uses 7 times a year.
Yeah.
7 times a year.
Yeah.
We use the measure 12 times a year. We use it 52 weeks in a year. You can easily talk to the lot down there, get a bus that carries you from that lot to here. A couple of buses for $100. They can do it on the clock during Jummah. And you can park your car over there in the parking
Well, the
lot.
only thing is, we have to show up on time, that's the problem, we're talking on time, so. Yeah.
Well, your suggestion is good, we will look into more carefully, you have to do pencil in all the cost and all
Okay.
what the consequences.
Like I said,
And the legal
it is a good idea, the only thing I would say is if we had more land, that would definitely become a lot better concept, but the problem is the land is a little bit limited.
Investment, since you're building anyway.
Inshallah, all right, brother, go ahead.
So, I have one question.
Sure.
And the question was, are we gonna be resuming like elections for positions?
Inshallah, yes, next year, and that's why we want people that are interested to be on the board, number one, to volunteer, to be on committees and everything else, and inshallah, time for elections, and yes, we want people to.
One suggestion was, just, working with that answer is that, for the youth, that I know a lot of the brothers and the board members are directing things that the youth, we're trying to get the youth involved. One, I think, fundamental aspect of that is having a youth director or someone, who's that's their job, is just to do outreach. or
Yeah,
work with
we
youth.
had a youth committee, and the idea was that future, we would get a director
Yeah.
who would coordinate everything with the youth.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yes, and I think, just from since I've been here, I mean, I'd say that Brother Omer has done a lot of youth events. I mean, the Saturday event, and he's constantly, I would really, push him forward to, like, the board to kind of, convince him to be a part of that. And if anybody, he has a lot of suggestions about the youth.
Sure, I mean.
And I think he's already done a lot, but I personally think when someone does something good, as a community, we should pinpoint it, because that's just gonna come up, all of us were gonna want to do. Again.
Unfortunately, we have a huge amount of youth in this community,
Yeah.
but they're not active. You see, in every other communities, you go to Darul, you go to anywhere else, you've got the youth committee basically organizing all the events, cleaning up.
But I do agree, it needs a leader, and that's a lot of times, having someone who is in charge of that makes a big difference. And I think that's something we can definitely, let's talk about that further. Again, as I mentioned earlier, the board is all volunteers. And the board is all, again, we all have lives just like everybody else. We have jobs, we have families, we have everything. So it is, doing it, if we're gonna sit down and say, just because we're the board, we're gonna do everything, we're fooling ourselves and fooling you guys. It happens by, yes, we are here to try to get things going, but really it comes from Brother Mayor, you guys, everybody to help. That's what we need. So, if we'd love to have someone do the youth, because that's, every place you're right. That's usually have someone who's a strong youth director, and they take care of things, and they solicit and bring other people. So absolutely.
For example, we didn't do food pantry for like 2-3 months right now. We don't have time at all, brother, because busy 24/7. And I was overseas, I just come back, business is like, back 24/7 busy. So we need some volunteers, we need some help.
Whether a mayor have time to spend with youth, the youth.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
They have time and money.
And that's the idea, is that we need anybody that has the time or willing to help, to say, well, just come and say, hey, I'm ready, and then we can sit down and figure out, trust me, we'll give you a lot more than you want.
Also, the other thing, if anyone have a connection with any car dealer, we need kind of a van for the money. Like any old van, any whatever van.
Yeah, just like construction, you'll pay twice as much right now, so.
No need old man, but buy one them good. You cry one time, if you old man, you cry every
Okay,
day.
all right. Let's do it. All right, you had something?
Yeah, one thing I was going to say is like part of the thing that will drive the youth more is having the sport facility where basketball, we have like a basketball court or a soccer field that is like very decent. That's one thing that I think would drive the youth. And and part of it is that we don't have more land to.
Correct, that's our issue. And that's one reason why in the new measure that we talked about in the basement, we want to put a ping pong table, we want to put a pool table, things that, that the kids can come in and want to sit at the measure and do things. Yes, they can play, and then they can, go up and do things. And I agree.
15 people come, pray here, Ashwatu Bhagwan, nobody come inside.
Yeah.
That's a going on. 15 young kids come basketball,
Yeah.
nobody said the person coming.
Okay, all right, yeah, all right, go ahead, brother. Yes.
So this is more of a suggestion. So I know that we go around with boxes. That seems like so 1950 to me, like going around with boxes for cash, right? Because we don't even carry cash, right?
Trust me, it encourages people.
It does.
We tried it many times, encourage people.
Okay, let's understand.
So all, I agree. The problem is like a lot of us don't even carry, especially with COVID, we don't even carry cash anymore. But there have been times that I wanted to give, but then I realized, oh, I forgot. The last 2 months it's been this way. I wanted to. This was
We have a square.
Yes, exactly. So in much in Richmond and DC, I know they have machines, they're on with iPads on stand, right? You pretty much walk in, you swipe, you walk in, you walk out, you swipe. So that-
And we do that little thing on the wall, that's that. And also, we're talking about trying, we can put something up here, and you can see that kiosk, I guess the code right there, that's for donating, right? And
That's
that'll go
to
to-
the website. That's the code to join the WhatsApp.
That was it, okay, but I'm saying, do we have also Venmo, we're still using?
I have Venmo and Cash App.
So what I would say, what my argument against that is that I feel like cash is way too mediocre, way too in the past. And I feel like Venmo is a little bit too ahead for our community. Like, we have a lot of 50, 45 years old, so why not use debit card and credit card? I feel like that's very.
And we do have that, but we will start making sure it's a little bit more, because sometimes you're right, sometimes what happens is people come in and they put an iPad outside, and that's what happens, but we do have a square, we've had it for a while, people use it. I mean, the best way, if someone truly wants to donate, is to do it just on go to your account and do it monthly, whether it's $5, $10, you can do it, then we don't have to worry about it, it just automatically goes.
We have it on the website. If people go to our website.
The website, you can donate on the website, yeah.
Donate from there.
So trust me, we'll take your money any way we can, so it's that easy, just a matter of, whatever we can make.
This goes into 2 things. The budget serves 2 purposes. 1 is the prayer aspect of it. 2 is the organization. The organization aspect of it only will be as strong as the people in the organization who attend the community functions. So for a simple suggestion like that, a solution is we need someone to stand with a credit card machine to help that age group. You see what I'm saying? It all goes back to how many hands do we have helping in the organization.
Yeah.
If we have 9 people that are the board members, but the board members aren't here to do daily activities. They're here to encourage people to do it. So in the end, if we have 2,500 Muslims in the community, we need at least 50% of those to be active, right? Because we know half of those are going to be busy other ways. So all the suggestions we have, we can come up with the ideas, but in the end, it comes up to, okay, what are the solutions? Execution and solutions, right? So those are the challenges that we're going to be facing and have been facing since I've been in the community.
And that's a perfect point. If we had, like right now, we put the pad on the wall, most people don't even see it. If we had someone that can stand there and just say, hey.
Friday you can go around with
Or just stand at the door and say, hey, I have this. Just stand at the door and say, hey, if you need to swipe a credit card, that way you encourage people to do it.
And we can get people coming in, not just when they're leaving.
Yeah, that's what some churches do.
Yeah, I mean, the parking lot.
As soon as they pull in the car, as soon as they pull in the car.
That's not passing the pass.
We need to realize that,
They run away.
this is one brother, there is a sign for many things right now. We have to realize this, okay, he's doing barbecues, he's doing the weekend events, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's doing at least like 10 things that I can think of right now. Exactly, we need another 10 more of this. And
That's what
right
you need to
now,
recruit people, that's what you need to do, not do yourself.
it's easy to just simply say, okay, this is this, but
He's doing it.
come here and do it, like that's the, the
Yeah,
stuff that.
I mean, here's a perfect example, I will say this, and not necessarily saying it in a bad way, but this is a meeting for the community. This is a meeting for everybody to voice their opinions, to say something, to hear what's going on. How many people are here? Look around you.
4, 5.
It's like we get more people to come for a Fredericksburg prayer probably than the people here. So when you have a community that has, 1,000 people and you can't get 5 or 6 of the people are board members. I mean, so you have that's kind of, I have to say, that is pretty bad. So I hope that, the community starts actually attending and doing things because that's how we're going to get ahead.
I'm sorry, one last question. I'm sure you're arguing support, but so you guys are the board members, right? You guys are the board of trustees, board of directors.
Yeah, it's good. We're just
The board of directors.
Yeah.
So I know corporate governance has changed a little bit. Now you have the board of directors, then you have an executive team, right? So you probably heard this before. So why don't we have it's probably goes back to who's going to do it, right? Who's going to be the person who's on the board of directors versus on the executive team, the people who are day-to-day tactical and operational versus
That's where the
strategic?
committees come in.
Okay, so do we have committees and we not have members of committees or?
We've tried to set up committees for everything.
Yeah, we
We're
just said-
still having quite a few committees, but you know, we don't get enough volunteers and active people.
Yeah.
Like the brother said, you're doing 10 things and you're one person.
Yeah, and after a while, you get burned out.
You.
Yeah, after you get burned out, then you stop. And that's what happens. We've established probably half a dozen committees over the years. Sometimes they go very well and they get it, but the problem is, again, they start off and sign up. Everybody raise their hand, sign up, we get 10 people on the committee, so mashallah, this is great. The person who's leading, like yourself, the next meeting you have half, the meeting after that, you're by yourself. And guess what? There was no committee. And that's unfortunately what happens, is that people are always excited to volunteer, but then they don't follow through. And so we end up basically these committees, just nothing happens, or they get busy. And we understand, people do get busy and whatnot, but that's why you can't have a committee of one. It has to be a committee of 10 people, so that way when half can't show up, then there's still some people doing it. So I think that's the number one thing is, you know, and even like with all the things that you're talking, mashallah, about volunteering to do, I would tell you, don't do them by yourself. You need to grab people. Yes, because, and that's the idea, is the whole idea of the board, like, you know, the brother said, is our job is to make sure the bigger picture, you know. Our job is not to say, sit down and say, well, okay, is, you know, just found a small thing, is the light bulb's out in the mission. You're calling me, telling me the light bulb's out. Why are you calling me? I mean, it's your mission as much as mine, you know, change the light bulb. You know, things like that, where there's someone responsible for that, and someone can call and talk to. But that's what happens, is everybody just kind of, let me just call and, you know, complain or call and say, I need to get this done, versus say, hey, how can I help get this done? How can I get involved?
I think that's where 99% of the problem between the board and the members occurs, is because we know that you're the board of directors, but we treat you like you're the executive team.
Yeah.
Because we expect you to be here around the clock doing the operational technical things. And you guys are really meant to be the strategic.
No, exactly, and that's why we want people to be, that's it, exactly. So hopefully, we'll start putting out messages for people, for volunteers to do things, and again, hopefully, that as you guys talk to more people, maybe you can, you know, get some volunteers.
Brother, we're always really good.
Okay, yes.
There's a lot of stuff.
Go ahead.
Inshallah, we have some wealthy members in the community. When it comes to fundraising, that's one venue. Maybe you can approach them with a loan without interest in masjid.
Okay.
Like, we need this much money from you. In the next 20, 30 years, you can pay it back little by little, or you need that donated to the masjid. But that could be securing some funding for them.
How about you and I, we go to those people?
Yes, we.
That's fine, but
Yeah,
you have to see the need.
That's a good idea.
You have to see the need. Yeah, some masjid, what they did, they said, this masjid takes 300
We
drugs.
agree, brother, he can go with him.
Fine. What I'm saying, 300 drugs. Are you willing to donate or buy a
Sure,
drug?
and we will do that when it gets closer. When we built this masjid, people that don't know, I will tell you, we started this masjid, we had $10,000 in the bank. We had the land, we had $10,000 in the bank. And we sat down, a few people there, like say, okay, we start, $10,000 is not gonna do anything. We couldn't even, you know, clear the land. And we said, what are we gonna do? And basically, that's what we're gonna do. We said, you know what, let's let Allah, let's do it. And we'll see it. And I will tell you, and I will, Allah's my witness. We started the masjid, we finished the masjid, and $10,000 was still in the bank. I don't know how that's happened, and this masjid got built. Then what happened is people say, I'll volunteer, I'll donate for the roof. I will pay money for, you know, the doors. I would paint, and things came together. So people, it will happen. It's just a matter of, you know, so once we get close to construction, then we'll start saying who can volunteer for certain things. Yes.
Brother, most of the time, people give money when they see clear picture and they need the cost. The problem we have is we're still working on the system to get the approval. As brother said, once we have the estimate, then we have a design, then we say, okay, it's gonna cost $3 million and we have only $70,000. Then we put a scale here that how much fund is needed. Then what you're saying, that time comes. Now, when you go somebody and say, okay, what is the cost? We don't know.
Yeah.
So that's the problem, that's the hitch here.
Well, the other thing is, subhanAllah, I mean, someone wants to, you know, children say, I want this, and the father just go and buy whatever it is, doesn't matter what the cost is. When it comes to putting money for the masjid, for the sake of Allah, like, oh, no, wait a minute, I want to know how and why and when and how much and how this, they want to analyze everything. You know, so subhanAllah, that's the difference, is that people forget, this is for the sake of Allah, it is not, you know, this is, you get a much more reward than, you know, trying to do something, but that's unfortunate.
First, Summer, one thing that I've observed, when we were going to the masjid in Quaker, when we first started that, and then last year they actually won the last 2 years ago, and they got a settlement from the, DOJ and county recorder. So what happened was they got the big lump sum payment, settlement, and then they built up masjid for around 1.4 million cash, they paid it all off, mashallah, right? But I'm not worried about building this masjid, what I'm worried about is sustaining the masjid operation, right? That's what I've been talking to the president there, Nawab. He's the one that's the president there, right? And so he's been telling me that it was fine to build the masjid. That was the easy part because that cash to do it. Now he's paying in the last 3 months. He's paid $100,000 out of his own pocket just for daily operations. Because now it's like a really fancy, nice 3-level masjid, just like we're planning to do. Sure. But the expense on daily operations, right? So no question. And that's again, can our community sustain this ambitious project?
And that's exactly the reason why, we're not rushing out there saying, let's build tomorrow. And again, we were, just like I said, this budget, we've been in it for 20 years, 21 years to be exact, we've been here. And again, as we outgrown it in some ways, we manage, but we keep it, trying to make sure we sustain it because, communities, people come and go. I mean, I've been here forever, some people have been forever, but just most people, they come, here for a few years, they leave, some people come in, and that's just, you have to kind of work with the best you can. But you're right, sustaining it is the important part, and that's why we have to make sure we have a good foundation of people, programs, activities, donors, et cetera. It's all part of the whole thing. If you can't pay it for it, why build it?
Is it too late to become I don't know if this is the right way to go, but I remember when we started ICC, we were a satellite of Adams, and that kind of helped out, we got some Islamic loans from them. So is it too late?
We do not want to be a satellite of anybody. And again, the idea is, we've been our own message for many, many years, and we don't mind working with the message. Like, for example, I've talked about the Fizan, I've talked about the Sharif, and the message here locally, that we all work together, as a supportive thing. But when you become part of, a message, and they tell you what to do, when to do it, how to do it, they're not here. They don't know what our community is. They don't know what our needs are. So, all right. Any other questions?
Find someone who loves his mother-in-law or wife who can just take the name.
Yes.
For $1 million.
Yeah.
Just a quick thing, if anybody wants to join us with Brother Rami and myself, and if you know that wealthy business person that would like to visit it, we'll be very happy to take things.
You can visit me anytime, bro.
I'm gonna do it right tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just after Mother.
Yes. The biggest thing, you have a question? Yes, young man. Go ahead.
How about we make the lemonade stand after Juma?
MashaAllah. Well, tell us your name first. Everybody knows who you are. Huh? Karam? MashaAllah. What's your last name, Karam?
Katie.
There you go, mashallah. So there you go. You have a suggestion of doing a lemonade stand after Jumu'ah. I'm sure in the hot days, people will love it. Huh?
Lemonade is expensive.
Yeah, you might be fine with the other vendors.
And it's either that's trying to make it cheaper. So yes, I think it's a great idea. If you guys set it up, yes, and I'm sure everybody will buy it. That'd be a great idea.
We'll give you a nice table, you can
Yeah, the table for you set up.
decorate it and everything, okay?
I'll bring you up.
Make it next to the guys who sell the food so they can have the drink.
Mashallah. Okay.
Actually, he actually said something, he did, that I was thinking that I didn't know how to kind of ask you guys, but, I see that there's brothers come here and they sell food, like, that they make from their restaurant, and then, we have a brother who teaches here, he has his own teaching, and he comes in, he uses the space. But, the masjid can really benefit if like another masajid, that we were the ones selling the food for the masjid, like, if we, for example, if the masjid was to get a deal from a sponsor and sell and keep the donation aspect of it, say, so I see the outsourcing is really hurting the masjid.
I will say these brothers that do that, they do donate some money to the masjid.
I know that.
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
So
so
what I'm
take it
getting
up.
at is that, like, there's really, like, that's a small aspect of it, but if you go to other masajid, like, for Adams, for example, they actually have like a pretty spectacular after Jummah, like you buy food, and they actually do make a lot of money just from that for the masjid.
And I'm sure that's a great idea, and I would love to do that. The problem is, again, you need someone to be in charge of that program, someone who's gonna cook, or at least make the deals, and who's gonna be standing there himself.
He's saying just like the rent space.
No, I understand, no, he's not saying rent government space, he's saying, for example,
Well,
that
I'm
we,
saying that, like, the
we make a
masjid-
deal with the
masjid
restaurant.
should not be outsourcing so much, because
Say, have a kitchen in the masjid.
No, it's not that.
No, we make a deal.
I mean, business-wise, it's pretty simple. You go to a restaurant,
Make a deal with that.
and you say, hey, if you give us this food, we'll pay you this much. But here, everyone who's buying the food knows that money's going to masjid. They're willing to pay an extra $1. And that's typically how it goes,
There's some logistics behind that, and you gotta get a health permit, everything else.
You know,
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying, I'm like, you know about
It's
this.
a little bit easier said than done.
Yeah, and again, if we have the people that volunteer to do it, I mean, again, there's a lot of ideas, it's just we need bodies. So if we have the people that volunteer and say, you know what, hey, I'm in the restaurant business, or I have something, and I'm willing to take that charge to be able to do it, that's great. I mean, the brother from Popeyes, I mean, as an example, he offered that, you know, hey, he'll do a day for Halal once a week even. You know,
Yeah,
Halal food, he has, even to us, say that we'll do that. Anybody can go and you basically 20% of the proceeds or whatever go to the masjid.
Yeah.
That's a great way. We don't do anything. It comes from their restaurant.
We do that with that.
We need people to actually get active more and more and do it. You know,
That's something you guys be okay with.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, if we have a restaurant that says they're willing to do certain things and donate, it's no problem.
How about like maybe a Facebook account in the masjid where the members can post their idol and sell, and when they sell them, the donation goes to the masjid. Like I want to sell an old car, I want to sell furniture, I want to sell, put it on that.
And again, and I think the sister in the back said some things about, you know, trying to come up with ways for Facebook. It's just, it just needs someone to be administrator of these things and keep an eye on these things. Because again, if someone's not there helping do things, it doesn't work.
Can you clarify who our director of IT is or the social media is? Do we have them?
We don't have director of IT, but that's part of the, remember the committee that said, we've been trying to get people to do that, we don't. Right now, Brother Piers, he's been helping us a lot of the.
It's set up, our social media is set up, but again, it goes back to, alhamdulillah, we have great ideas. Alhamdulillah, usually the board is not gonna be against the ideas. It's executing it.
Yeah.
You know, we can say, hey, like I had the idea of, you know, having the house next door as like not just a food bank, as a pantry. So the ideas are there, but we gotta make concrete. And if there's only 6, 7 of us and we all have 5, 6, 7 ideas, we're not gonna be able to do any of them. Why? Because we can't do it by ourselves. You know, I trust me, I try doing everything myself. I can only go so far until a wall hits and I'm like, okay, we need more hands. You know, we need more. If we can find out what's broken in our system of the organization, why we are not getting the rush, for the sake of Allah, should be enough. That should be enough. But the truth of the matter is that's what's missing in our community. If we can find out what is that thing that's not softening our heart, touching our heart, and tying it, you know, we're talking about all these ideas, but the thing we haven't talked about is the sake of Allah, we say it, but what does that mean in your heart? If we can get that in the heart in our community, things will grow automatically. Alhamdulillah, when I was young, we went through this same process. We rented an apartment. I was 15 years old. I remember going to Ramadan in the apartment. There's a college town and students coming in, leaving. At 15, my dad's like, don't go there. You know, because he's like, just do it in the home. But I went. I had my permit and I went there. And then I learned how to put the sound system in. And then we finally bought a house, alhamdulillah, and turned that into a masjid. Put the sound system in there. I cut the grass. I cleaned. But we're missing that in our community. It's a struggle. We say, oh yeah, why don't we do this? We want to pay someone, alhamdulillah, that's fine. But the truth is, we should want that reward. We're missing that idea, the connection between Allah and the reward. If we can fix that, then people will be flocking here, you know?
Yeah, it's people involved, that's the main thing. I mean, again, when we have functions or we have activities and no one shows up to it.
I think they say inshallah, but never show.
Yeah, and people can say, you talk to people and say, hey, I talked to several people today, and say, did it come to the day? Oh, inshallah, they're not here, I can tell you that. So that's the thing is, people have to feel like there's a reason to come.
We have mashallah enough people. If they make me up, we have to work with enough people.
Yeah.
You know, right with enough people.
Sure.
But they give idea, also they have to give time.
Yeah, it's
Time
not,
is more precious than money.
and that's the problem. The issue is in today's world, everybody's busy and everybody's running around, and people, unfortunately, they have that battle whether I can do my personal things with my kids or family, whatever, or come measure, and it's a hard one. So we hope Allah can.
We have 24 hours, 22 hours to give credit, at least 2 hours for the sake of Allah.
Yeah.
Then everything is good. Otherwise, 25 years education, 25 years job, 20 years we sleep, and then you will travel 8 years go like this. But I am saying only 2 hours.
No, I don't disagree. I mean, the people, you know, what can we say? That's inshallah.
I'd just like some clarification.
We have about 3 more minutes and wrap up. Yeah.
I just like some clarification because I want to hear from your mouth so that way there's a official stance on it. So I've heard one thing, and I don't know if it's true or not. Is the board stance the fact that is there sole focus on voting this expansion, Or are they willing to spend money on other activities and other projects? I'm not, there's no right or wrong answer. I just want to know what the right focus is right now on the board.
The focus is to make this community better. The focus is, so if you come up with an idea and something that's needed that's gonna make things better, we're absolutely gonna do it. Like I just said earlier, even though we'd like to build tomorrow, number one, it's too expensive, and number one, we have to have the money. So we're not gonna just sit there. But the same thing again is, I'm gonna tell you, as the board, we have a fiduciary responsibility to not just say, anybody comes and say, hey, let's just, build a basketball field out. No, we're gonna look at it, say, do we really need it? And yeah, we gotta make sure it's being used and things like that. So that's our responsibility as the board. But yes, if someone brings an idea that is something that's gonna benefit the community and it makes sense, absolutely, we have no problem with that.
You want a football tournament, soccer tournament, you want to arrange it and you want us to support it. You want to barbecue every Saturday, we're here to support you.
And even if things even if there's things outside the measure, like something, let's say, you mentioned that, you want to do some kind of thing, we need to rent the park, we don't have a problem doing that. I mean, again, it's things that benefit.
Bringing us together, bring the community
And
together.
also, we need to understand that, himself, paying for this homeless thing by himself alone, like, no one has help, for the most of the part, and then later on, people don't have help. And everybody needs to pitch in and, it's like, okay, I can do this, I can do that, he's gonna burn out at one point.
I don't see it, that's why I keep saying, we need to get help, there's no question. Just the brother, he's been kind of patient with.
I think it goes back to budgeting. What you're saying, we are not saying that you don't do these activities. You do these activities out of the current ongoing expenses account. The money which is separate, sitting there, like after sale of land, that cannot be used for these activities. Okay, we take $100 today, we take $100 today for this
I'm
activity.
not sure how we do it fine. We shouldn't have any budgeting issues. If you have an idea or concept you want to bring forward, it should be fine.
I'm sorry, is there?
Are you guys ever disclose how much I spend on this for activities? Should we just let them buy them?
No, you give us you come up with a budget suggestion and we can discuss it and come up with it. I mean, again, we don't have a set number to say it's, whatever, just a matter of you present, here's what I'd like to do, here's the ideas, here's the costs, and then we discuss it and come up with it.
As the board, like you were talking about, we all are individuals, we all have our ideas, we all have directions to go. And with those different ideas, we try to merge in one direction. So for example, one of us may have a certain timeline for the new masjid. For me, my timeline is based off of what's the community needs. How are we growing it first before we get to that? Going to the question of sustainability, are we able to pay for it, right? But at the same time, we also look at opportunities of what can draw people here. So during Ramadan, one of the ideas was, let's get these tents. Maybe that will be a new gathering point for us. And alhamdulillah, it takes a while to build up the momentum, but it's up to us to efficiently use it and use it in a way that builds the ummah in our community, inshallah.
Just in closing, so when can we expect to have another meeting like this, or to bring ideas like we?
You don't need to wait even for this meeting. If you have ideas, like I said, number one, we have our board meeting, you can, which is the second Wednesday of every month. You can just let us know, say, hey, I'd like to come in to, meeting and have suggestions, or send us an email. And just send an email and say, hey guys, here's something, you don't have to wait. There's no reason to wait for a month, waiting for it. Just send an email and say, I have these ideas, here's some things, I'd like to talk. I mean, there's a lot of us usually here during Jummah. So you can, we can spend a few minutes after Jummah and discuss the idea, and then pass it on to the other board members. So don't get hung up on, we have to have a formal meeting to do this. This is mainly it's information for us to tell the people. People don't want to come or they not come, that's okay. But any suggestions that come from you guys, anytime, just grab someone, let's talk about it.
Right.
Hold this talk,
Just remember, you do want to make another one in the next month, monthly.
I mean, we'd like to do this more often, just again, we want to get people.
Right before COVID happened, we started getting to know our brothers.
Yeah.
So that was one of the programs we were trying to start with the community involvement, and now with.
Yeah. If everybody go to park, they have everything available.
Yeah.
Here we have nothing but kids.
Yeah.
Play there and read Maghrib here.
Yeah. No, and that's yeah, sure, we can do things again, and that's why.
Yeah, but all the they have basketball.
Yeah, go into a park and organize it. That's
So in the park, we have everything. Right now, it's dangerous right here. Should every family go there, eat there, and Maghrib and run there.
Inshallah, and those are things again that just need to be coordinated and figured out. So again, in closing, I appreciate everybody coming, at least the people that came. Thank you very much for being involved. And again, don't wait. Any suggestions you guys have, any help or ideas, trust me, we would love to. We welcome it. So don't wait on just just grab someone and say, or send an email and say, I got this idea, it doesn't matter how odd it is, and if it's money, you just say, I looked into it, here's the cost, here's this, and just, you have to have some just, and don't just say, I need $1,000, because I'm gonna, at least tell us, hey, here's my budget, I'd like to do these things here, and then, if it's $1,000 or $5 or whatever it is, we'll review it and approve it.
But the similar one, if we put the safe right there, a big safe, every masjid there, a lot of people, they don't make the door.
Yeah, and that's something we need to look into, yes, I think that's probably a good idea, it's gonna save them both to the ground, yes. If you imagine we're planning on doing that, but again, that might be something to look into.
Very heavy.
Now, I know the big ones, they bolt them to the ground, so that's something we could look into that. All right, so in that, and then do a quick closing dua, and then we'll, we'll adjourn, and then we'll pray Maghrib, inshallah, in a few minutes, and then we'll do it. جزاكم الله خير, thank you, سبحان الله وبحمده.
اللهم يا ذا الجلال والإكرام يا ذا الفضل والإنعام يا بديع السماوات والأرض يا حي يا قيوم اللهم اقبل توبتنا واغسل حوبتنا اللهم كن لنا مع الرفيق رفيقا وكن لنا مع الحبيب حبيبا اللهم اجعل لنا من أمرنا رشدا اللهم اجعلنا من عبادك السعداء اللهم وفقنا لما تحبه وترضى وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.
جزاكم الله خير. Thank you.